3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to 15 Minutes of Fame with Dawn Branch. I haven't been here in so long. I missed you guys so much. It's been like 30 days, and I am so delighted to be back with my friend, Miss Dana Crigler. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, you're like the first guest back.
Yes. The most fabulous one.
Yes, you are my brown ballerina. I'm so excited. I would have worn a tiara if I had one. But you are gorgeous and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
So how are you? How was your summer?
The summer was fun-filled, traveled. I'm still healthy.
Yes.
The summer was very full. I didn't expect the summer to be full. Normally towards the end of the season, you start to think, oh, I'll have a nice summer break and
Yes.
I can go do this, that, and the other. It did not happen that way.
It didn't
But
happen.
like I said, I'm here, I'm healthy, and I'm appreciative for the opportunities that I did have this summer.
Yes, because audience, she was gone. I couldn't get her. We were supposed to schedule. No, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but we were supposed to schedule this, and she was like, "Oh, well, I'm here, there, and oh, this week is." So she is booked, but she's a diva in her own right, and I can't wait to let her tell everyone about who she is and where she's come from. But before we get to that, we missed your summer intensive.
Yes.
So could you just briefly tell everyone the name of your school
Sure.
and tell me a little bit about your summer intensive that you had at your school?
Well, I'm the co-owner of Namari Conservatory, which is owned completely by Antoine Sessions, and he owns Namari Dance Center. So we had a conservatory summer intensive for 2 weeks in July. It was fabulous because I taught ballet, point, and variations, and then he taught jazz and contemporary. So we had a nice turnout of students. Most of the students that came to the conservatory were students that were in the conservatory from this year. And then we had some outside students that came from other schools.
Nice.
So it was really nice. It was a good turnout. The students learned a lot. We really, of course, we focus on the technique of things, but then we also talk about during class nutrition. We talk about safety protocols. We talk about their environment that they're in, that they're learning in, how supportive it is. And then we start talking about what do you want to do with your career?
Nice.
Because we started to notice that a lot of times these kids that are coming through the conservatory program, they don't really know what to do next. A lot of the seniors, or juniors becoming seniors.
Right.
So they're on the fence of, do I go to a company? Should I try out? Should I go audition? Or can I go to college? And if I go to college, will it be too late for me after college to get into the industry? So we really sit down and talk about what it is they really want to do, what they want, what their path is, their goal. And then we try to formulate a plan for them, like stair steps to get them where they want to be. And if there's anybody in the industry that we know, we try to get them to reach out to them. If there are people that will, do some privates with them to kind of talk with them and give them some pointers of where they were and how they got there, we try to provide that as a service through our conservatory.
I love it. Everything about what you said. Now, I just want to, before we get there, where are you? Like, I know where I'm in Florida, but where is Dana located?
Dana is located in the beautiful land of Lawrenceville, Georgia, but our studio is located in Sandy Springs, Georgia.
Okay, yes. All right. And now safety protocol. Since I know in Florida, well, you probably know that we're pretty open here. How is it going in Florida with masks and safety and all of that? How are you guys handling that?
All students have to be masked. All teachers have to be vaccinated. And then
Okay.
once the lockdown stopped, then we started to get a little bit more comfortable saying, hey, if you like to wear your mask, it's fine. We're okay with that. Same with the
Mhm.
teachers. But now that there's the Delta variant that's out there, we've decided to
Mhm.
go back to a mandatory mask rule. And believe me,
Okay.
I mean,
Mhm.
teaching in a mask is so hard. And
Yeah.
even, during the winter time, I already get laryngitis anyway without a
Oh.
mask. And now,
Mhm.
having to wear this mask, I can't breathe because I'm demonstrating. And then I'm trying to
Sure.
yell through the mask so everybody can hear what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
I understand, we have a lot of students whose parents work for the CDC, that are doctors
Oh.
in the industry. So we want to make sure that those parents continue to believe that we're being safe, not just for ourselves, but for their students. So we have gone back to 100%.
Sense.
Everybody that comes into the studio has to wear a
Has
mask.
to wear a mask.
And it's
Okay. Very nice.
unfortunate, but that's what it
No,
is.
it is what it is. Safety first.
Yeah.
So now I want to get into you, Miss Dana. So were you raised in Atlanta? Where'd you start dancing? What's your
I
story?
was I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and then moved out to Matson, Illinois, which is a suburb 30 miles south of Chicago. We
Yes.
were kind of like pioneers going out there in the 70s because it was
Okay.
like a little mass exodus of African Americans that went out to the suburbs. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the people that lived, that I grew up with, already knew from living in the city. All those same parents kind of transitioned out. So, grew up in Matson. There was one little small school, and I asked my mom if she remembered the name because my memory is horrible. She couldn't even remember it. But I remember this little small school. It was in a convenience store, like a little retail center, and it
Mm-hmm.
was one room. That's it. You walked in, you walked into the studio.
Those are usually the best schools. Let me tell you.
Usually.
Yes.
So I do have like I started when I was 4, so I have small memories of just going into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of memories of training. The one memory that I do have that's like really clear to me is my brother used to take jazz. He was a football
Uh-oh. Is he
and he
professional?
no, he's not a professional football player. He's too short.
Okay. Don't say
He's
that or I'm gonna kill
You'll
you.
hear this, but it's true. We all have to admit that we're short. We
Okay.
come from a short family. And he loved jazz because he was just in love with one of the girls. Like I just remember, this is like the fondest memory. And he would just go to jazz all happy, knowing that he really wasn't interested in
Isn't
jazz.
that funny?
But yeah, so that's where ballet started.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom also was a dancer when she was younger. So she was with Sadie Bruce. She was from Chicago, lived in Chicago. Sadie Bruce was downtown Chicago somewhere. So that was where my interests came from, and that's where she knew where to put me to keep me, moving. So
Mm-hmm.
I started there, and then she also put me in gymnastics. I think
Okay.
I started gymnastics around 5 or 6, and I really had a liking to gymnastics. I was at the
Mm-hmm.
Tolentine Center out in Flossmoor, Illinois, and I remember this. Mr. Hilmke was his name. Huge German accents, big guy, like very
Mm-hmm.
strong, like and Dana, you not do that right. It was that
Right.
I have fond memories of him because he taught me discipline. And I'm
Okay.
not saying that at the dance studio, at the ballet studio I was at, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
teach me, but from what I remember, those were memories that I really held on to.
Mm-hmm.
So the discipline,
Mm-hmm.
the being exact, I loved and breathed every moment of it. He had asked my mom if I wanted to start training for the Olympics because
Wow,
I really,
Dana.
like, I really absorbed everything. I really did
Mm-hmm.
love gymnastics at the beginning. And my mom said, there's no way, it's too expensive. So I'm going
Yes,
to keep her over here with ballet. So gymnastics was a supplement to my
I
ballet
see.
training. Yeah. And then my
Okay.
mom put me in piano. I played flute all throughout elementary school. So I was around the arts all the
Mm-hmm.
time. My mom's family is an arts family. My uncle, his name is Randy Hall. He is a musician, and
Okay.
I was exposed to he's so the band that he was in the 70s and 80s. the nephew of Miles Davis, was
Oh,
one of the
wow.
band members. Yeah, I call him Uncle Vince. And so Bobby, like all of them were my uncles. So there's always music always around. There was always parties at my grandmother's house. You know, there's the
Right.
musicians would come in and out of the house all the time. So we were surrounded, the family was surrounded by the arts. So
Love
that's
it.
how I grew to love the arts. And I thank God that I was surrounded by that, because it really gave me the motivation that I needed to learn
Hmm.
music and then apply that to the art form that I chose to be in, right? So, I mean, after that, after being there, I went to American Dance Center, and that was owned by the Valaris. That was out in Chicago Heights, Illinois.
Hmm.
And that's where I really started training, ballet, tap, jazz.
Hmm.
My fondest memory was not a good fond memory of them. I mean, the training was great, but it taught
Yeah.
me something. It taught me something. I was on stage and I couldn't get, we were doing Hansel and Gretel, and I was a gingerbread boy. I was a boy. And she said, "You're not doing this right. You need to get it right the first time." And I didn't get it right the first time. I didn't get it right the second time. I didn't get it right the third time. And that taught me you got to listen. Like, so the
Yeah.
gymnastics taught me the discipline, the ballet was the passion. And this moment taught me you need to listen and do what you're
Hmm.
asked and do it right the first time. So there's little places, you know, little things that I took from each one of those studios that I started out with that really kind of put that seed in me to,
Hmm.
you know, become what I am now, and how I teach, how I perceive things when, you know, I'm thinking about, okay, so the students are doing this, why aren't they doing it? Maybe I need to approach it differently with them. So, so I was at American Dance Center until I think I stayed there for about 5 years. And so that's leading up into my high school years. So in high school, I
Hmm.
found other passions. Like I was going to public school. I was at Rich South in Richmond Park, Illinois, and I started playing tennis. My dad's best friend, he was a tennis coach, and so I started taking private lessons with him. And I fell in love with tennis, and then dance went to the
Oh,
wayside. Yeah.
okay.
So I started playing tennis, played for the high school for 2 years. And then I decided public high school wasn't for me. I decided that I wanted to look into a private institution. And my cousin, who
Hmm.
was kind of like my right and my left side, he wanted to go to a private school also.
Hmm.
So we ended up finding this school called Culver Girls and Boys Military Academy in Culver, Indiana. And
You
he
have just completely, my head is
girl,
spinning
I am
now.
everywhere. I'm
Whoa,
everywhere.
Gina.
My story
Okay.
is not like
Is
to,
your mother going, oh my God, I
no,
spent all
she
this
was
money?
happy to get rid of me. She really was. That
Okay.
teenager time was, you know, I was a talkbacker. I
Oh,
was that one, very stubborn. So we both ended up going to Culver Military Academy, or Girls Academy. It was the boys were separate. Boys were military, girls were on a prefectorial system. And once I got there, I discovered something called Dance Vision. And Dance Vision was Culver's
oh.
own little dance company. They had they had dance classes and they had a company. And so I decided to go try out and dance for some years, and I ended up making it. So I stayed with Dance Vision for 2 years, and the level of teaching that I got was phenomenal. I do remember Mrs. Duke, who taught me Duncan, and
Okay.
that was my first experience into the modern realm. And
Hmm.
it was like it was the right timing for me to be where I was, because I just absorbed it. Like it was, I felt like, okay, this is me. Same with
Hmm.
ballet. I started reabsorbing things. And so that's when I really discovered that my passion was really there. Like, I guess sometimes you
Hmm.
got to walk away from something to find
Yes.
where your passion is.
Hmm.
And that's when I really started to discover, okay, you know, it's back again. I think I really want to do this.
Hmm.
So
Wait,
Culver,
I want to talk about the dance body and the different muscles that you have to use
Mm,
for each different. Now you've already explained that the gymnastics, which is a totally different set of muscles and
yeah,
that we have to use.
yeah.
You did ballet, you did jazz,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now you have modern.
Mm,
So let's just stop for a second and just because my show helps a lot of young kids like trying to find their way. They like love to listen to professionals. So could you just stop for 1 second and just let's just talk about the different muscles that we use for ballet as opposed to what you use for gymnastics, as opposed to what you use for modern, like, and then how you can learn because now it's big with the cross training, but back
yes,
then
it is.
it
It
was
was
taught not to do that. So how did you
right.
manage that, and what do you suggest for kids nowadays?
Well, I think with the flexibility, I definitely took from that the stretching. Yeah, we did a lot of
Okay.
stretching. We did a lot of floor work before we even started our training.
Now, which technique was this that you for which one?
For
For
gymnastics,
gymnastics? Okay, so
yes,
let's talk about that because my daughter did gymnastics and I would watch and I would say, it's a different style of stretching as opposed to
yes,
dance
yes,
stretching. We rotate out, they're turning it in, and I'm
yes.
like, so, okay.
Yeah. So
So,
I think with gymnastics, the stretching, yes, it is turned in. It's everything is pretty parallel.
mhm,
Um, and that's the reason why it was good for me to have ballet at the same time because both sides of those muscles were working. Of course, we're born turned in. Everybody walks forward. We're
mhm,
not born turned out. So I there had to be a balance in the parallel stretching versus the stretching being turned out. Um, but gymnastics for me was the overstretch.
that
Like that,
helps you later
it
on
was
too.
more intense than
Yes,
ballet, right?
yes, I know
So
it.
it delivered to me like that the thing that kids run away from now when we're in a stretching, when I'm doing conditioning and stretching, they
Mhm,
run away from, oh, that hurts. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that again.
mhm.
Where we learned that if I feel like this pain, and it's not like a bone cracking pain. That's what I tell them now. This is not a bone cracking pain. This is almost like it feels like your muscle is a little on fire and it does get
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But if
Mhm,
you push through it, it's going to start subsiding. And that's what gymnastics taught me in the stretching. It's extreme.
mhm.
It's extreme stretching. And so I had to learn how to kind of power down my muscles and try to
Mhm.
relax to get through that stretching routine. But like I
I was
said,
gonna say, I was gonna say through the torture, but
yeah, yeah.
okay. So then you had, all right. So then, yeah, that's how you did that, and then the ballet would help.
And the
Obviously, you
ballet.
said with the rotation, and then the
Hmm.
extensions, and now we're in modern, which is totally different.
Man, that was so foreign
So
to me.
what did you learn with that for your body and physicality? Like,
I learned I had to learn how to balance,
okay,
how I had to have control over my muscles because my
that
mom
bar
was
was not there for you to hold on to, girl.
no,
I
no,
know.
you hold it gave me a new sense of how to find my center. Um, and that I can't have flexibility without having strength. Like I used to stretch to death, right? I used to stretch. My mom stretched me as a baby. So people are like,
Oh,
how is it that you're so flexible? And I said, well, it comes from my mom stretching me as a
yeah.
baby. I can't say that I learned this, how my this hyper flexibility. I can't say that ballet and
Mhm.
gymnastics did it. It started way at the beginning when I was a baby. So, yes, with modern, I had to learn how to balance the flexibility with the strength and then finding my center on top of either leg or both in order to hold those positions because I mean, it challenged me. And I'm up for the challenge. I'm always up for the challenge, but it really took me to another level.
Thank you for sharing that. That was going to be helpful for the young kid, for anyone, absolutely. So thank you for that. So
Sure.
now you're there 2 years, you're in the company,
Mm-hmm.
and
Lots of
now, okay.
Yeah, lots of fun. I mean,
Mhm.
it was definitely an experience being at a boarding school and going to and training with a dance company. Um, so I finished, I graduated from Culver, And then I moved back to Chicago. And well, I moved back home, and then my parents are like, "You're out of here. Go live with your brother downtown."
Okay.
So I moved to what was called Boys Town at that point in time. It's actually Lakeview, which is just north of downtown, Lincoln Park area. And I was downtown, just walking through the downtown area, trying to get myself familiar with being downtown by myself. And I went into this place, this building called the Artist Cafe. And I turned, it has a beautiful theater inside of it. And I turned, and there's this advertisement on the wall called Boitsoff Ballet. And I was like, oh, well, I think I should just go and call them and see if I can, go take a class. I was looking for a class at the time. And I called, and this Russian woman answered the phone, and her name was Elizabeth Boitsoff. And I asked if I could come in for an audition, and she said yes. So we scheduled time. I came in. It was about the roughest class I've ever had in my life.
Really?
It was, and I would say that because she teaches Vaganova, and my body was not trained for Vaganova. I had learned Cecchetti the entire time. So again, I'm up for the challenge, and I decided to go back. So I put myself into a training program that literally retrained my body completely, retrained my mind with a different discipline. Because for me, Vaganova was, I hate to say it, for me, it was like torture. I would have to stop in the middle of class because my body was in agony. And when I look at the Vaganova videos that are online right now that, the whole world can see, what people don't see is the amount of training that they have to do just to do one combination at the bar. I mean, she would set the bar, but then we would go home and practice the bar. Because if you just set the bar and you try to just go do it the next day, or you try to go do it, 2 days later, your body can't withstand that type of pressure, that type of strength. So it really retrained how my body had to work, conditioned me, my mind with discipline, and being able to, again, push past that level of, I don't think I can make it, is go give up. And it's like, no, you got to keep going. So I love Boitsoff. Like, that is my mom. That's my ballet mom. Unfortunately, with that training, I started as a Black dancer, becoming very aware that my body type was different.
So let me hold there. So throughout your entire training, you were training with brown teachers.
No. Throughout my
So
training, I'd only been the one Black girl in the school.
so how is it now that it was defined to you to say I'm different? What happened? What was the disconnect?
Me becoming an adult. So when
So your body starts doing different things. Okay.
And me living out in Matson, it was very diverse. So that, with me playing with white kids and Black kids and Asians and Latinos, and there wasn't any discussion of your body type. Even when I was at American Dance Center, I know I was the only Black girl in class, but there wasn't any discussion of your thighs are too big, or your chest is too big, or your skin color is not light enough. There was no discussion of that. It was all brand new to me after I left Culver and I started seeking training in the city. Now, nobody had really said anything to me about it, but when I started at Boitsoff, I looked at the girls and I was just like, okay, I'm not like them. I'm not a long string bean. I'm petite, but my muscle structure is different. Yes, I have bigger thighs. Yeah, I have broader shoulders. So I think that awareness really came from when I started to get into this is like I was 19 at the time. So my young adult years. So I started to develop an eating disorder. I
Oh,
started becoming anorexic. I wanted to have that long, lean muscle. I was already lean, but the muscle wasn't long leg, thin. I'd look at myself in pink tights and just be disgusted. I mean, I'm just being brutally honest. This is the
mm-hmm.
truth. Um, I would look at myself in a leotard, think that I was too fat all the time. So I started to develop anorexia. My family started seeing that. Why aren't you eating? Why are you? So I would just eat so I would go to training. I'd wake up in the morning. My daily routine was that I would wake up in the morning. I would have an orange and maybe a power bar. I would go to the front of the TV. I'd start stretching, doing all my stretching routine, then my conditioning routine, and then I'd leave and go to class. And so inside class, I wouldn't eat at all. I would drink, I have my sips of water. Then we'd have rehearsal after. Nothing else. Then I'd leave. So that we left maybe about 10 o'clock, I would say. Then I would leave and I'd have to take the bus to the train and then walk back to our apartment. I would eat maybe a salad and a piece of bread and then maybe a sweet. And that would be my whole routine, my whole food routine during the day. That's what I thought, oh, that's going to make me lose weight. That's going to make me shed some muscle so I can get longer.
I just don't understand how you sustained the whole day without fainting. Like, how does that work with few carbs and some like? There's
I
no
don't
pro.
know. Like when I
Wow.
think back on it, I ask myself the same questions because then I got into taking fat burners.
Oh, girl, Miss Dana.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I just went
This is a
so
great show. This is good. This is good because this is why this we're gonna tie this back into how in your summer intensive you cover all of this because of
mhm,
all that you went through. And it's
yeah,
gonna help people. So this is good.
yeah.
All right, so go ahead. These were
So yeah, they were
legal fat
legal.
burn.
I saw this little health food shop thinking, okay, well, I'll get some health food diet pills. Um, and so I started taking fat burners. And when I didn't think that the fat burners were working enough, I would take over the suggested amount. So I remember I was up to 6 pills a day of fat burners to try to lose weight. And I did. It worked. It worked in the
Mhm.
wrong way because I started losing my mind. I would wake up in the middle of the night and just sleepwalk to the refrigerator. I would wake up in the middle of the night with like an apple or something in my mouth because my body was like, hey, come on, you got to eat. So it
Yeah.
was getting me up to go get something just to try to continue going. I would have heart palpitations. I did try laxatives. I remember going to Boyd South. I was sitting on the bus, like, am I going to make it? I know I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to make it. I would run up those stairs to go to the bathroom because I was taking those laxatives thinking that it was going to go ahead and empty me out and make me lose weight. So I was on both at the same time. And my
Oh,
mind started to go loony. Like I was absolutely crazy. Boydsoff pulled me in her office and she told me, she said, you're her and her husband, Vladimir. Oh, he was a character. Vladimir was a character. Um, they put me in, they said, look, you're getting too thin. And
yeah.
she never ever imposed any type of weight
Hmm.
loss program on us. She never said anything to us about our weight. She pulled me in, said, you're getting too thin. What are you doing? And I was like, nothing. I'm fine. I'm fine. And for me, I don't know
Hmm.
how I interpreted it, but it got worse from there. It's like, oh, I need to lose more weight. I don't know. Maybe it was a call for I need help. So if I lose more weight, somebody will just come and snatch me and say, what are you doing? I see you. I see
Yeah.
you. Right. So there was a breaking point, and I really do think, it was the Holy Spirit saying, if you don't get your act together, if you don't stop this now, you're going to die. And so I walked into her office and I said, I quit. And voice off was like, what are you saying? She had such, I really grew. I remember I really, really, I mean, my passion was ballet, and I really grew, and she wanted me to go overseas. And she was like, once you graduate from here, I know your career is going to be great. And I just walked in and I said, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. And it had nothing to do with her. It had all to do with
Right.
what was going on in here. And
Yeah.
the last thing she told me before I left was, she said, you'll never stop dancing. It's in your blood. And I was like,
Mhm.
whatever. And I just slammed the door and left.
So mood swings all over the place. You met,
Everything. But
right.
that
Wow.
memory of you'll never stop dancing, it's in your blood. She knew me, right? She knew
Mhm.
what was going on. She knew that the passion was there, but my mind was too messed up. I didn't have a support system around me to say, you can do this, keep going, and let's figure out what's going on inside your head. No, you're not fat. Like, can I get you help? So that was the end of my career as I knew it then. I went to school. I got my degree in business information systems. I got my master's in computer information systems. I was totally left and right brained. Got married, started to have a family. And then after I had my last child, then the passion came back in again. So I missed, for me, when I look at my career, where I am now, I truly do feel as though I missed my window. And I know probably a lot of people kind of feel that way when it comes to dance once they leave it and they look back on their career like, wow, I missed my
Mhm.
window. But now I know, as an older dancer, that window doesn't have to be the window that I thought it was supposed to be back then. I can still create my own window. So that's where I'm
Yes.
at now, trying to create my own window of where I fit in as an older dancer.
Wow, what a ride. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's rewind a little bit because this, I want you to explain a little bit about, as a teacher, I'm a teacher, and you can talk to teachers first. What do we look for students that might be going through what you went through? And then the second part of the question is for the student, try to give them advice because you were there on how to ask for help.
Um, well, I would say the students that have eating disorders are the ones that are very vocal about how they feel about their body. Like, that's what I'm
Okay.
starting to find in the students that I teach. They'll say, oh, I'm so fat. And they'll try to play it off, right?
Right.
Um, you will see a lot of overcompensating in some of the things that they do. Like, they'll try to laugh off, when they mess up. Sometimes they'll like, oh, they'll make a big deal. Oh, it's okay. Like, I don't, you know, that's a really good question, because everybody is so different in their approach to their eating disorder. Like I said, I think the one common thing is that they start talking about themselves in a playful manner.
Okay.
And what they're trying to do when they do that is they're trying to get the opinions of others to say, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. You are a little bit fat there. Or they're trying to see if somebody's going to say, no, girl, what are you talking about? You're beautiful. They're trying to get those opinions to see if somebody sees what they see.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then if that somebody sees what they see, then it sends them off into the deep end saying, okay, well, she said that I'm a little fat. So now I really have to stop eating, maybe a couple days. And then I'll eat a couple days and I'll purge that other day. So I think that's kind of like what I'm seeing in the students now. And where I would say those things just to see what other people would say. But
Okay.
like I said, everybody is so different, and their approach to eating disorders are different, and
Hmm.
their triggers are different. We don't know how what we say affects
Right.
people, right?
And now with social media,
Oh my
it's like
goodness.
it could just, right. We didn't have that back then. We didn't have the
Mm-mm,
visual.
mm-mm.
Okay, so
Now,
now we have a student who might be suffering what advice will you give them? How can they acknowledge it? First, they have to acknowledge it.
Yes.
And how about some ideas on how they can ask for help?
So for the student that has the eating disorder, don't be afraid to say you have one.
Okay.
And maybe you don't really recognize yet that you do have one, but you need to talk to your parents. Um, there are a lot of students.
I know this is deep. This is a great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
You'll
sorry.
take a, no, you're fine. You're helping so many people right now.
Um, there are students that I've dealt with
Oh
that
God, now you got me going.
I'm sorry. They their parents have no clue what they're going through.
Yep.
And it hurts me. And they don't know. I mean, the girls, these kids need to feel like they can open up to somebody that's
Yes.
listening to them. And like I said, when I said, well, Boyd saw she could see me, they need to know that there's somebody there that can see them.
Yes.
And so they need to talk to somebody. They need to talk to somebody that they trust. A lot of times the person that they trust is another teenager that can't understand what they're going
Mhm.
through. So
Mhm.
if there's an adult at your school, if you need to go to your principal and you say, I'm having some problems. And it doesn't have to be I'm having an eating disorder problem. Like I'm having problems concentrating in class. I'm having problems getting motivated to come to class because that's a part of
Mhm.
the eating disorder. That's a
Okay.
part of an emotional or mental disorder that's going on, but you just don't know how to handle it. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, it'll manifest itself in different ways. It'll come as a wave. It'll be, I'm crying every time I go to class. I don't feel like getting dressed to go to class. In class, I
Mhm.
can't focus. I can't concentrate. I'm always looking at myself and I hate the way I look. Like
Mm.
those are some of those trigger statements that they will say. And if you feel that way, you need to find somebody you can trust. Like I said, it's
Amen.
not necessarily your best friend to trust that information with, because your best friend is the one that's going to
Mhm.
be like, I'm going to keep that quiet into myself.
Sure.
You need to try to find someone in your school, an adult, to maybe sit down and say, hey, can I have a conversation with you? I'm really kind of feeling this way today. And
Mhm.
then usually that conversation leads into, so what's going on? What's making you feel that way? And then from that conversation leads into, well, I don't like the way I look, so I'm starting to binge or purge or starve myself or take the diuretics. So it's a process. It's definitely a process. So I encourage students out there, if you start feeling that way, if you start feeling like you don't want to go to class, you cry, a lot before class, you're unmotivated to be there, you can't focus, then there is something going on with you emotionally that you need somebody's help with. And please talk to someone, because it will get worse. And
Oh,
talk
that
to
was
your
awesome.
parents.
Parents, yeah.
Your parents, you think your parents don't want to deal with the problem, they don't care. You know what, create if they don't create that open line with you, you need to try to create that open line of communication with them too. And that's the same for the parents, because
Mhm.
of the kids that I have struggled with this year, the parents had absolutely no clue
Idea. Yeah.
what was going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where, we had to get in some counselors to help them, and to help the
Mhm.
parents too, to start
Yeah.
trying to create that relationship with their son or daughter, because they just go to dance. That's all they know. We drop them
Mhm.
off, they go in the
Mhm.
studio. Then it's,
Mhm.
why is my child crying before they go to class? Why don't
Mhm.
they want to go to class? Child's not talking to them. That open line of communication isn't there, and the parents don't know how to approach them. So
Mhm.
I would encourage the parents to try to create an open dialogue with your dancer, because there's so much in the world today, in just even outside of dance, that are affecting these students that you don't know about, and you want to keep that communication. Check in on them. How are you doing? How was dance today? What did you work on? How was
Mhm.
school today? Like, the conversations have stopped because the text messaging has taken over.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we
Mhm.
got to start talking to these kids, because they are suffering. They are suffering emotionally, mentally, and physically. But if nobody opens up that line of communication,
Mhm.
if you don't pay attention that Susie's crying before class, then it's just
Right.
going to go on, and it's going to get worse.
So, what would you recommend for a young dancer for a daily diet for dance? Like, what do you recommend? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, I definitely recommend protein in the morning. I
Mhm.
myself, I like a half a bagel. I do like an egg, like a scrambled or over easy egg. Or I do like my whole wheat toast in the morning with some butter or some peanut butter. So I would say a light breakfast in the morning. Sometimes some
Mhm.
oatmeal is good too. Some cranberries, some brown sugar. If you want to use some honey or agave sweetener, that's a really good start to your day. Good carbs, good protein. Um, and then the afternoon, a nice salad with some protein. You've got some grilled chicken. I
Mhm.
always, I'm a cookie lover. I ain't gonna lie. I love my
Mhm.
chocolate. I'm like, well, if I had my salad, then I can have my cookie.
Right.
So I have, like, I'll do a nice salad with some chicken breast. Sometimes I'll just have depending on how I feel, I'll have like a nice bowl of soup, like chicken noodle soup, still with some protein, and I'll have some toast with it, and then I'll have my little chocolate chip cookie on the side. But
Yes.
I find the afternoon I have to stay light. Any heavy meals in the
Mhm.
afternoon makes me too groggy and tired, too heavy.
Mhm.
So I would rather my heaviness, like, be, if I have the oatmeal, to be in the morning. And then my evening is tough, because as teachers, we don't get home till late.
Yeah.
But for a student getting home, again, you still need that protein. You should be eating what? Your weight in protein. There's some kind of science behind that.
I'm
But
actually going to start taking courses in this. So I'll have
okay.
that answer for you soon. Yes.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
like to know, because
important. That's why I'm
I
so
hear
glad this
that.
came up. I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
this
hear
came up.
that.
Hmm. Oh, wait, you're stuck.
You're supposed to
Oh, you're
eat your
back.
weight in protein, but I don't think I ever get
Hmm.
that in. So again, if you like fish, you need to have a protein in the evening. You've just
Some
gotten done from
protein.
class
Very
and
important.
rehearsal. You got to refuel your muscles. You got to rebuild. If a nice green vegetable, because Mama always said you got to always have a green vegetable on your plate.
Yeah.
And and
Yeah.
usually I started eating a lot more brown rice.
Hmm.
I like the cauliflower rice too, but something that has a little bit of a carb, still a slow burning carb, not the
Hmm.
convert carb to sugar right away.
Right.
So, a nice dinner, not a big meal. To me, I'm not a fan of eating pasta at night. Again, for me, that's too heavy. Yeah, because it's going to take a
Hmm.
lot to digest. It's going to be sitting in your stomach all night. But yeah, if you can get your protein in, you can get your veggie in, and if you want like a little starch, that's more of a brown rice, not a white rice, then I think those. If you keep that kind of plan, then I think that you're on a good course for a diet. And there's nothing wrong with snacking. It just depends on what you
Right.
snack on, right?
Right.
So what do I snack on? Nuts. I love dried fruits. Usually the dried fruit that I buy is from Sprouts, because if I get it from a regular grocer,
Hmm.
that has sugar infused into
That's,
it.
yes. I know. I
Well, you
know.
know
Because I
what?
get the little mix, the bag. But this show is about
But
you.
don't feel
It's
bad,
about
because
you.
I used to do that all the time, and then my brother was like, excuse me, that has. I was like, oh, excuse me.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yes.
okay, I'll start. So I mean, just if you like fruit, I know a lot of kids now don't even like fruit and vegetables. Like, I'll ask my dancers, I'm like, so what are you eating at home? Do Do you eat fruits and vegetables? They're like, no. So I'm like, so you're just a carb diet? That's it?
Right.
So you can't just have all carbs. You've got to get your proteins. You got to balance it out.
This
So
is
that's
awesome.
the biggest thing. Balance your diet.
I just love how you having that exchange. You know what I mean? Like some teachers don't have that exchange because they don't want to get involved in it. But this is why everything happens for a reason. You went through all of that.
Yes.
So now you can help others. So I thank you for this, Miss Dana. You, woo, girl, you got a lot. There's so much we didn't even get to.
I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, we have to bring you back on the show for all the other stuff. Yes.
I love
so
to.
let's just recap. I just want everyone to know again just how wonderful you are. I met her in Georgia, I fell in love. We've been friends ever since. Her technique, and guys, if I was your teacher, you know how I am. Her technique, flawless, ridiculous. Like I would recommend. So once again, the name of your school, how can people get in contact with you, and then virtual privates. You do those too. So let's talk about that. So your name of your school, information, and then virtual privates.
Sure. So the name of the school is Namari Conservatory, located in Sandy Springs, Georgia. You can reach us at namaridancecenter.com. There is a section on the webpage for the conservatory and all the programs that we offer. And I do private training via Zoom or in person. So you can just reach me. You can reach me at Twinkle Toes Productions Corp, CORP, @gmail.com. And then I will get back with you and we can discuss what your goals are for your private training.
Yes, I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Miss Dana. I'm so blessed to call you my friend. Thank you for being my first guest for season 2. And you got to come back and then bring your partner back too, so that we can.
You don't need 2 hour show for that one. Yes, he would love to. He would love to. Yes,
thank you so much, Miss Dana Crigler. Thank you so much, everyone, and make sure you follow her on Instagram and all the social media outlets, and I'll make sure I put it on the bottom. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.